Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. So on today's video we are going to be talking about centering and grounding, what they are and how you can use them in your own personal practice. So this is a continuation of my basics series, which I will try my best to link in the top corner if you're interested in learning any more of these basic practices. Now this video is specifically on centering and grounding, but there are going to be others in that series that can be really useful if you are a beginner practitioner. Now the first question that I get asked a lot is, what is centering and what is grounding? Now this is a very good question, as these two terms get tossed around the magical community quite a lot, and they are very important for successful and energetically conservative magic, and you will understand what I'm talking about as I get further into the video. So centering. Centering is a term that's used to describe the practice of collecting together our energy. We collect it into a central point from which we can then direct it into objects, into items, release it into the world with our spellwork and ritual. It is often something that people do naturally without even realizing it. Usually before energy work, they will gather together their energy instinctively, automatically, without even thinking about it. But if you are a beginner, it might be something that you have to consciously do to get it right the first time. So centering is the gathering together of our energy. It assists us in energy work and in releasing our energy during spell work and ritual, so it is exceptionally useful. So the next term is grounding. Now this is personally one of the most important skills to learn before you start undertaking spell work and ritual, because it can ease a lot of the issues that beginner practitioners have when doing energy-based workings. Grounding is the ability to connect our energy to the energy of the earth. Now the earth's energy is neutral. It has no intention. It isn't positive or negative. It is completely neutral. And so it allows us to draw on neutral energy that we can then adapt for whatever working we're putting our intention towards. This is quite different than using the energy of a tree or a crystal or a herb, as these have their own energy and intention for a specific purpose. And it's very difficult to counter that energy and force it to work towards a different intention than it was originally intended. So while a lot of practitioners do work with crystals and with trees and plants and herbs, it can be quite difficult sometimes to do all workings with these specific items, as they already have intention associated with them. The earth in comparison is neutral, and it means that you can then use that energy for whatever you see fit, whether that be for positive or for negative. Now a lot of people call earthing the magical grounding rod, and honestly that is very true as well. Because not only can we draw energy up from the earth to help fuel our workings, but any excess energy that we have left over, we can put back down into the earth again, so we aren't left with that vibrational buzzing feeling that can be quite unnerving if you're not used to it. Now centering and grounding help combat some of the most common problems that beginner practitioners have when they start doing energy work and spell casting. The number of times I've had someone ask me, is it normal to feel very drained after a spell, is honestly nuts. I get asked this question so often. It appears in almost every single forum, and it's often found in lots of question and answer sections, and I also get this question quite a lot in person. Now feeling exceptionally drained after you've done a working, whether that be a spell, a ritual, a charm, or just energy work, is very common, and it's often caused by you using your own personal energy for that spell work and ritual. Much like if you were to work a 9-to-5 day and you're on your feet all the time, you're using up energy. If you haven't eaten anything or drunk anything, you are going to feel tired and exhausted. Magic is similar in this way, in that if you are using up energy for a specific purpose After that energy is gone, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel drained. And the easiest way to combat this in the long term is to learn to ground before, during, and after a working. If you're drawing energy up from the earth, you are replacing the energy that you are losing as you're doing a working, and in the end, you will end up balancing yourself out. If you end up with slightly too much energy at the end, you can then release this back down into the earth again and end up completely balanced once again. The issue that a lot of people have is that they don't ground, and so they drain themselves of energy exceptionally quickly, and it can leave you feeling really, really bad. And as Professor Lupin often says, chocolate helps. It really, really does. It helps to give us that boost of energy that will make us feel more normal again. However, that is only a short-term solution to a problem that you can avoid in the first place by learning and actively practicing centering and grounding. So now that I've gone into a little bit of what these are and how they can help you, how do you actually do them? Now, this particular technique of centering and grounding involves a little bit of energy manipulation practice. This can be developed in time, and this almost acts as a beginner practice to learn how to sense your own energy. And it also involves visualization. Now, I didn't mention it in the visualization video, but if you aren't able to mentally see that picture, if you're able to describe it to yourself, that is just as good for anyone out there that can't actually visualize. There is a specific name to that condition where you aren't able to see things in your mind's eye, but if you aren't able to do that, the best way is to almost verbally describe it to yourself as you are doing it. So centering and grounding can be done separately, but they are traditionally done together, and that's why I've grouped them together in this video. So to center, the best way to start is to be in a space that is quiet, that is calm, and you aren't going to be disturbed. So once you're in this calm, tranquil space, I know it can be quite difficult, especially when you're getting started, to remain focused. As you practice more and more, you will likely be able to center and ground really, really easily without even thinking about it. But to start off with, being in a quiet space is probably ideal. From this point, you can close your eyes if you want, and you can visualize your energy gathering together. For me, I visualize my energy as little gold sparkles. Everyone visualizes their energy slightly differently. For some people, it's almost like a liquid in pools around the body. For some people, it's sparkles or little dots. For some people, it's just like blobs of light. For me, it tends to be kind of glittery gold sparkles. And to begin with, that is all over your body. It's kind of evenly distributed around. So while you're sitting quietly, you're going to want to visualize that throughout your body, and then you're going to want to draw it in towards your core, from the extremities in towards the core. And you're dragging it in from your fingers and your toes, and you're drawing it in up your arms and legs and gathering it together along a central column. Now, once it's gathered around this central column, you'll often find it being drawn to specific locations down that column. So for me, all of my energy gathers in my stomach. I don't know why, maybe I'm just food orientated, not really sure. But for some people it gathers in the third eye, for some it gathers in the heart, for some it's the stomach, and it goes down, almost like the chakras going down. And you'll often find that quite naturally, the more you practice this, the more you'll realize it happening. It starts to go from being a long, thin strip to gathering in specific regions, whether it's here or the throat or the heart and so on and so forth, and you'll find it gathering in a little ball. And that's what you want to achieve. You want that energy to be drawn in, and you want to be able to gather it together in a little ball, and you can then feel that energy all gathered together. Now for me it feels kind of sparky, so energy for me has always felt like static electricity. And so that's how I feel. So you can feel that tingling as you draw the energy in and you gather it together into your core. Wherever along your core it is, you can gather it together. Now for some people this energy is going to feel hot. For some people it might feel cold. For others it might feel like tingling, like it does for me. But everyone is slightly different, so don't be disheartened if you don't get tingles, if instead you get hot or cold. It really all depends on the individual person. And then once that's gathered together, you're going to want to practice holding it there. Because the drawing it together is one thing, but being able to contain it within that space is another. And you're going to want to practice holding it there. And then when you're ready, you can release that energy and allow it to dissipate, to evenly spread across the body. And that is a really, really good centering practice. And when you are holding it at that central point, that is centering. The ability to draw that energy in to a collected location from where you can then distribute it elsewhere. So for a lot of people out there, you may be interested in energy healing. So a lot of the times, if you've seen an energy healer, they will hold their hands above a person and they will feel the energy. Well, this is something that is done after you have centered. So a lot of these workers, they center their energy and then they direct it into their hands. And you can begin sensing energy. Now, I'm going to be doing a whole other video on sensing energy, but that's something that almost all magical practitioners will do, often without realizing it. So if you're a spell worker, you're likely doing this before directing that energy out into your hands or out through your voice, so that you can manifest that energy in the physical world. It's something a lot of people forget exists, or they don't put a name to it, but this is a very, very important practice that I would really suggest people attempt before they start doing spell work, because it can help you tenfold. I promise, it is so exceptionally helpful. So once you've centered, you're now at this point where you are able to ground. Now, grounding, despite what some people might say, because I have seen this quite a lot, doesn't need to be done outside. You don't need to take off your shoes and walk barefoot on pure earth. That is not a requirement in the slightest. Grounding is the energetic connection with the earth. You can do this if you live on the 16th flat in an apartment building. You can do this in an aeroplane. You can do this just sitting in your bed upstairs. You can also do it outside on the actual earth, but it isn't actually a requirement. The term grounding doesn't mean you actually have to touch the ground. It is your energetic connection to the ground. Now, a lot of people, when they're getting started, they might find it easier to do it while physically touching the ground. This almost gives like a psychological connection to the earth that makes it easier for them to energetically ground. But once you've practiced for a while, you will be able to do this essentially anywhere. I typically wear giant platform boots with a 2.5-inch platform, and I ground through the rubber of my shoes. It isn't something that is required to be barefoot for. You can do this at 40,000 feet in an aeroplane. As long as you're well practiced enough to be able to form that connection, you can form it wherever you are. Now, another thing I want to note is that you also don't have to do it through your feet. This is simply the most common method of connecting to the earth. So, for instance, if you don't have mobility of your feet, or you have limited mobility, whether that's through arthritis or if you are disabled, you don't have to use your feet if you don't want to or if you aren't able to. You can connect through your hands. I have even known people to actually ground with their forehead. So they will actually like press their forehead against a wall, and they can then ground using their forehead, drawing their energy up and down into the earth. You don't need to use your feet as a kind of fixed point for the energy to come into and out of. You really can use anything you want to and anything that you choose to. So what actually is grounding? Well, grounding is a connection to the earth. It is being able to draw energy up from the earth and push it back down again. It's a give and take relationship. It is not all one way. You will likely at the end of a working have to put energy back into the ground, but it is exceptionally rewarding, and it does limit a lot of the issues that people have that I spoke about earlier. So how do you do it? Well, I have found that especially for beginners, the best way to do it is to sit comfortably, and if you're going to use your feet, put your feet firmly on a surface. Obviously, the most common way to do it is to put your feet firmly on the floor, but if you don't want to use your feet, you can put your feet either on the floor or you can put them on a wall. Something that connects to the earth is the easiest way to do it if you are just starting out. The more practice you get at doing grounding, the easier it is to ground when you're not touching anything. So in the end, you'll be able to get to a point where if you're in an aeroplane at 40,000 feet, you will still be able to ground. You don't have to have contact to something, but it does help just to get started. So first things first, you're going to want to be in a quiet, calm place where you aren't going to be disturbed. Once you're in this kind of area and you have your hands on a surface or your feet on a surface that feels comfortable, you don't want to feel uncomfortable, you want to feel quite comfy. And if you are doing this before spell work and ritual, you are going to want to have the items around you so that you can just go straight into a working. It's much easier than trying to ground whilst collecting other things. So once you're in this kind of position, you're going to want to be quite calm and relaxed, and you're going to want to center. Draw all of that energy in to that core and then allow it to focus itself wherever it wants to focus. Now, as I said, it can really be anywhere. So obviously for me, it's in my stomach. For some people, it's in their third eye, in their throat, in their heart, and so on and so on. Just wherever it feels like you want to gather that energy. You're then going to want to slowly pull that energy down. So wherever it is, you're going to want to draw it down, move that ball of energy, and you're then going to want to direct it. If you're grounding with your feet, you're going to want to split that energy into two and allow it to go down your legs. And you will likely feel a tingling, cold or hot sensation as it goes down your legs. If you're doing it with your arms, you can split it and go down both arms, or you can just do one. And you're just going to want to draw that energy into whatever area of your body you want to ground with. So you're drawing that down. And as you're drawing it down, you're visualizing it, or you're talking yourself through it in your head if you can't visualize it, going down, down, further down into your legs and then into your feet. And as it goes into your feet, it spreads out across the entire foot. If it's going into a hand, it spreads out across all of your hands so it's nice and even. You're then going to want to visualize roots growing out of your feet or your hands into whatever surface that you're pressed against. These roots are going to go deep down into the earth. So you can see them passing through the earth, going through the stone, down further and further into the earth. And when they're there, you're going to want to bring out little tendrils. You're going to want to draw it even more into the earth. Connect yourself as deeply as you can with the earth. And then you're going to be able to see the earth's energy. And you're going to want to tap into that energy with just the tips of the roots. You're going to want to connect to it, create an energetic link between your energy and the energy of the earth. And then, when you're ready and you're able to, you're going to want to draw in some of that earth's energy. Now, for a lot of people, the earth's energy is a light. For me, it's white light, but it varies depending on the person. You're going to want to visualize the roots drawing up that energy. And as it goes up the roots, it enters the bottom of your feet, connects with your energy, and it all connects together. And you can then draw that earth's energy up into your body so it connects with your own. And then, when you feel like you've drawn up enough, you can then go about and do that spell work and ritual with this combined energy. So you're not just using your own, you're using this combined neutral energy. And once you're done with the working, or if you aren't planning on doing a working and you're just balancing out your energy, you're going to want to see whether you have enough energy. If you don't, you can draw up a little bit more. If you feel like you're buzzing and you've got a little bit too much, you can push some back down into the roots again. It's an exchange, it's a give and take relationship. And then, once you feel like you're ready to disconnect from the earth, you can visualize or talk yourself through those roots being drawn back up out of the earth again. They're reducing, the tendrils are disappearing, they're coming back up into the bottom of your feet, into your hands, or whatever it is you might be using. And then you can disconnect from that energy, and you can then uncenter, so you can release all of that energy back so it's evenly distributed around your body. give yourself a bit of a shake, because that often happens where you get really into it. You gotta give yourself a bit of a shake off, move around a bit, and you will likely no longer feel any of the issues that you had before if you were using too much of your own personal energy. You can do this technique to really balance yourself out. It's a fantastic way of balancing out that energy that's really lost, or maybe you've even had too much energy. It's really fantastic for doing that. And that is the simplest and most effective technique for how you can center and ground, as far as I have found. So I'm not actually sure where this technique came from. I was taught this technique while I was at the coven or group in North Wales, where I was living at the time. And this is where I learned that technique, and everyone there that was much older than me and more advanced used this technique, and they then passed it on to all of the younger people that joined that coven or group. So if anyone knows where this originated from, please let me know, because I would absolutely love to read a bit more about it. But this, for me, has been the most successful technique of centering and grounding that I have ever found and that I have ever read and studied. And I hope that it helps you guys if you are struggling or if you're interested in learning how to center and ground. Now, this is not only good if you are using this energy in spellwork, ritual, charms, talismans, items, healings, whatever else you might be doing. It's also really good for allowing yourself to connect to the earth. So if you are doing a meditation and you want to connect with the energy of the earth, you can ground whilst you're meditating. If you want to do this when you have too much energy from other people, so if you are an empath and you are taking in feelings from every single person and it gets too much, you're able to draw all of this extra energy that you've picked up back into the earth again and release it, and it will then turn back into neutral energy. And if you need any more energy, you can then draw it back up again. It's also particularly good if you feel like you are being lifted off by fairies. That sounds really weird. I don't know if anyone else uses that phrase, but essentially it's where you feel as though you are almost partially astral projecting. It happens a lot when there's a lot of interfering energy in a room. You'll often find yourself almost like drifting out of your body. It's almost like disassociation, but not quite the same. And in this circumstance, I generally recommend that people use hematite or they try and ground, because by rooting yourself into the earth's energy, you are energetically keeping yourself in your physical form. So you're not gonna like energetically float off. That sounds kind of terrifying, and it really isn't that scary, but it is a horrible feeling. So this is great if you feel that kind of energetic lift off. If anyone's felt it, please let me know, because it can't just be me, but grounding really, really helps with that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. Hopefully there's going to be more videos in this beginner witchcraft series for anyone that's interested in finding out more information. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. It really, really means so much to me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or just want to chit chat with the community down in the comment section, feel free to post a comment. And if you enjoy the magical content on this channel, in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. It really, really means so much to me. And if you really want to help out the channel, you can check out my Patreon account. I have some amazing patrons already, and you guys honestly mean so much to me. All of your support means absolute world, and honestly, I cannot thank you guys enough for choosing to become a patron to the channel. Honestly, it is the most amazing feeling ever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, I hope it was useful, and I hope you guys have a marvellous magical day. I post new videos every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 PM, so hopefully I will see you in another one. Bye!